Top of the day, beautiful people. Top of the day. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Guess what? Today is day one of the second year. We begin our second year of reading through the Old Testament today. Day one. Genesis 1:1. Happy day one, Tiffany. Hey, girl. Hey. All right, y'all. I'm super excited about this. And this time around, I've learned, over the last year, I've learned so much more with my study. And I shared as I went, but I learned some stuff about some of the stuff that we had already read. So this time around, as we read through it, I'm going to share what I've learned through my study. And I want you guys to go back and check behind me. Seriously. Go verify this information that I'm telling y'all. Most people never don't. Most people never do. They just kind of, it's certain people that they trust and they just take their word for it. I get that. That's cool, but that's not always cool because somebody may not have the right information. And if I tell you something that I later find out is wrong, and y'all know because I've done it, I will come back and I will apologize and I will immediately correct myself. As soon as I realize I'm wrong, I will immediately do that as to not lead you astray, because you may believe that thing that I told you. But I strive my best to share only truth with you. I may do some comparisons between the lies we have been taught and what we come to find out to be the truth, just to kind of bring things out so you can see it. So I will continue to do that. But I'm excited about Genesis because most of the people, one of the first things they go to when you tell them what Yahuwah has actually said, that he alone is the Savior, they said, well, who was it talking about in Genesis 1:1? And that I want to share. I mean, not Genesis 1:1, but in Genesis, 2? Hold on. No. Yeah, 2. Well, who was he talking about when he said, no, it's 1. I'm sorry. You're right. I underlined right here. Genesis 1:20 says, and God said, let us make man in our image. They said, who is us and who is our? That must be Jesus. But we constantly hear Yahuwah say, there was no one with me in the beginning, and there is no one with me now, and there will be no one after me. So that can't be right. And as we read through, we'll see that we'll see that trend going all the way through. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading, y'all. And when we get there, we're going to bring it out. But I want you to pay attention to everything that's said before we get to this certain point, let us, because when Yahuwah answered that question for me, it was like a day of me like, Father, what is up? I was like, that is a good question. And he actually answered that before quite a few people started asking me that same question the very next day. So Yahuwah is definitely faithful in all that he does for me and for everybody else. But he simply told me, he said, Pam, go back and read it. Go back and read it. Reread it. I'm like, okay. So I calmed myself down and I was reading. I was paying attention to everything that was done. So I want you to pay attention to the details. People, pay attention to what's being said. If you don't quite understand something, we don't have that time to do it right here, but I'll bring some things out for you. Go and research the original Hebrew text. The Old Testament, most of it was written in Hebrew. Some of it was written in Aramaic, which is it's an offshoot of Hebrew. You know, it's you can find it. It's not that hard. You don't have to be fluent in reading Hebrew. If you have an electronic Bible, you can easily click on the word and it'll give you like the Strong's reference and the Hebrew reference for it, and you can go back and you can check it. Now, what I have found out is some of those definitions that they give you from the Hebrew text, Strong's Concordance has kind of lined it up with how can I say it? They've modernized the definition, so you have to use and I'm going to post. I'm actually trying to find a link for it and see if there is an electronic version of this actual Hebrew concordance that gives you the original definitions. Like even the Septuagint has been screwed with. It really has. They just kind of modernize everything to try and make everything flow together and getting you to believe that there is another Messiah, when the ancient text, it didn't do that. They add stuff, they take away stuff to lead you to believe that there's someone else. But in the original Hebrew scrolls, some things are just not there, and we are not to add to nor take away from Yahuwah's word. All right. So, all right, let me start reading. And this time I read from my Sefer, which I absolutely love. I got a lot of questions. I was like, Pam, what are you reading from? Are you reading from a Muslim book? I'm like, does nobody read the Old Testament? I'm reading from the Bible. The Old Testament and the Bible, that's how foreign it sounded to people this whole last year of me reading. I got so many messages, so many inboxes. Like, what book are you reading from? Most of the word, it reads just like the King James. It really does. It reads just like the King James Version, with the exception of the restoration of the names and the places in the original language. That's all it was. So this time through, since everybody's familiar with that, it don't matter really. It really doesn't matter which version of the Bible you read, as long as you're able to do some research. If you understand how to do that, just do some. It don't even take a bunch of deep research. If you know how to do some light research, you can still understand. You can get to the original meaning from any Bible. You really can. That I have learned all too well. All right, so let me read. I'm gonna put one in my mouth. In the beginning, what I am going to do, every time I see God, I'm going to use Yahuwah's name. Yeah, a lexicon. They have a couple different ones, but I want to find, I'm going to get the name. I got the name of it. I just can't remember it right off the top of my head. And I said I was going to pull it out, but I didn't. Me slow poking and stuff. I didn't pull it out and write it. But I'm going to pull it and I'll post it for you guys so you can see. And then when I find like the link to the reference and stuff, I'll share all of that with you so you can do your own due diligence. You ain't got to, check behind me. Check behind me. Make sure I ain't lying to you. I ain't lying to you. I'm just saying. I'm sharing with you the truth that I've learned. Things that Yahuwah has done. It is verifiable. It is absolutely verifiable. You can go into history and verify it. Everything is verifiable. We would be taught nowadays to live by blind faith. I don't know that that's such a cool thing. I get that. Let's not get into that. That's a whole nother thing that's going. People are like, what? Oh, you are completely going off. Nope, you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. People would rather have people lie to them. Oh, yes, that's the truth. Without going back to check them. Nope. The blind leading the blind. You've done that to me for way too long. I'm checking everything you say. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much clout you got. I don't care what your title is. Apostle, prophet, pastor, evangelist, teacher. You could be the bishop. You could be the freaking pope. I don't care. I'm checking you, bruh. I'm sick of the lies. So I'm just saying. I will hope everybody feels that way. Hopefully there are some people in your life that won't purposely lie to you. And if they did, or if they didn't realize that they've done it, they will come back and make amends and correct that. Like, look, sis, what I said, I just realized that was wrong. Scratch that. This is what it really is. Like, seriously. I will hope there are people who are honest enough in your life that will tell you the truth, even if it hurts your feelings, but you will live another day. Truth is what sets people free. Truth is what sets people free. Okay? All right, so let me go. In the beginning, Yahuwah created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of Yahuwah moved upon the face of the waters. And Yahuwah said, let there be light, and there was light. And Yahuwah saw the light, that it was good, and Yahuwah divided the light from the darkness. And Yahuwah called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And Yahuwah said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And Yahuwah made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. You know what the firmament is called? It's called the sky. There are waters above us and there are waters below us. Why do y'all think the astronauts train underwater, B? Because they trying to break through the firmament. They ain't gotten outside our atmosphere because they know it's water above them. Like I'm saying, y'all got to pay attention. Okay, okay, listen, just pay attention, y'all. Pay attention. And Yahuwah called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And Yahuwah said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And Yahuwah called the dry land earth, and gathered together of the waters he called seas. And Yahuwah saw that it was good. And Yahuwah said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And Yahuwah saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. And Yahuwah said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Yahuwah made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. So have you ever thought about that we still have daytime without the sun being out there? Like we can still see, but it's just a dimmer day. But when the sun comes, it brightens and it heats and it causes things to grow. The sun rules the day. The moon and the stars rule the night. Verse 17. And Yahuwah set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Yahuwah saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And Yahuwah said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that have life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And Yahuwah created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the water brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. Yahuwah saw that it was good. And Yahuwah blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And Yahuwah said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping things, and the beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And Yahuwah made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after his kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And Yahuwah saw that it was good. Now here we go. Verse 26 of chapter 1. And Yahuwah said, it was Yahuwah, let us, and us is not capitalized. Remember, there is no capital letters in the Hebrew nor the Aramaic language. And Yahuwah said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So Yahuwah created man in his own image. In the image of Yahuwah created he him. Male and female created he them. Listen. So when it said, let us, think about everything that was previously made. We were Yahuwah's last creation, and we were the culmination and the best portion of all his creation. We were made in his likeness and in his image, but we were also made in the likeness of the earth. Think about it. We're made from flesh. Not flesh. We're made from the earth. Why do you think everything in the earth that's naturally grown is conducive for the human being? It doesn't matter what race you are. For the human species, the earth heals our body. Think about all the herbs and all those things, because we're made in a likeness of two things. And we're made in Yahuwah's likeness. Everything comes from him, and everything that we need, he put inside of this atmosphere where he placed us. So when we want to get well, we use natural herbs. I ain't talking about the medicine. I think doctors are needed. Hospitals are needed. I think they're needed in the respect to, if like you have a trauma, like you just got into a bad accident, you might need pain meds, might need a something that's been broken off that they need to sew back on. So doctors are needed, and I respect their profession. I really do. But a lot of times, if we follow the laws that he set for human beings to live by, unless it's some kind of trauma thing where you've gotten and something on your body has come off or something like that, there would be no need for medicines that they create. And the stuff that they create from the natural things of the earth, they cut it with drugs, things that kill your body. So while it's healing you, it's also destroying your immune system, the very thing that you need to live. Everything that Yahuwah has put in this earth, good herbs and those that they deem to be bad or whatever, they were there for a purpose, and they're all there for the purpose of healing and helping our bodies. He talks about that the fruit and all those things being healing for the nations. Come on, guys, y'all gotta put all this together. So we were created in the likeness. We're made of earth and also his spirit. We're made from the contents of the earth that he created, and then he blew his breath into the nostrils of man, and we became living beings. He created us from the dust of the earth, and then when he blew his spirit into us, his likeness came into us, and we became alive. So that's the two things that we are composed of, this earth and Yahuwah's spirit, people. It's not too... and also something to realize, there were also angels of his presence that were there. We're going to keep reading. We're going to see that the angels were also there too, because when they get kicked out of the garden, it says he sets cherubims right there with a flaming sword to keep them out. And he uses us, and we can clearly see that he's talking to his heavenly host, his army who's around him. That's clear to see if we're paying attention. All right. Okay. So verse 26, I'll read it again, and we'll keep going. And Yahuwah said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So Yahuwah created man in his own image. In the image of Yahuwah created he him. Male and female created he them. And Yahuwah blessed them. And Yahuwah said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over every fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And Yahuwah said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in the which is fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth wherein there is life, I have given every herb for meat. And it was so. And Yahuwah saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. And the heavens and the earth were finished, chapter 2. And thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day, Yahuwah ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work which he had made. And Yahuwah blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Yahuwah created and made. These are the generations of the heavens of the earth when they were created. In the day that Yahuwah made the earth and the heavens, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, for Yahuwah had not caused it to rain upon the earth, because there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up from the midst of the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. And Yahuwah formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And Yahuwah planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made Yahuwah to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from whence it was parted, and became into four heads. And the name of the first is Pison, that which is compassed the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good, where there is bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same is it that compassed the whole land of Ethiopia. And before I go on, I want y'all to realize he's not just talking about half the earth's landmass. He's talking about the entire earth's landmass. When we're in school and when we're in church, for some reason they seem to cut off the bottom half of the map where you don't see the Americas. All of this was included, and the garden was set in the east. And when we look at the land's earth mass as a whole, and although they did shenanigans with that and it's a layout, but it consisted of all of land's earth mass and all of earth's land mass, and those 4 rivers or heads and springs of water went out to the 4 corners of the earth, people. So from the very beginning, they're teaching you to disregard what Yahuwah has said and what's in front of our face. But there are, when you hear 4 corners of the earth, because that's the 4 main rivers that came out of Eden, parted from there. And there is a place on this earth, if you go do your research, where it seems that the rivers flow out into the earth. And let me tell you something, it ain't what they told you it was at. Oh, this place where everybody worshiping, that ain't the place. It doesn't even line up with what you read right in here. They've taught you to disregard what is in front of your face. It can't even line up. They've changed the names. They gave it some names, but it doesn't line up. It does not line up. You can do some research on some geography and some people who have actually done some exploration and stuff. And even in some of Christopher Columbus diaries and what he said, he would tell you that, let me tell you something. I'm going to put this out here. You go check into this. When they didn't share everything about Christopher Columbus. When Christopher Columbus came to the Americas, he knew what he was looking for. And he said, stop, I'm not putting the code in for that. Go put it down. Go back upstairs. He was looking to capture Jerusalem. Why was he coming to South America looking for Jerusalem? Why was he coming to the South America direction to search for and to capture Jerusalem and to capture the holy people? I ain't gonna say no more. I'm just saying. They've taught you to disregard what is right in front of your face. Okay, I'm gonna just keep reading. I'll leave that there. Verse 12. Matter of fact, I read 11 again. The name of the first is Pison, that is, which compassed the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good, for there is bdellium and there is onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The name is it that compassed the whole land of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is what they have renamed to Africa, and they've divided some of it up. But that's one of the rivers. The whole entire continent is a continent. There are countries. There are multiple countries in that one continent. All of that was considered Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel, that is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates. And Yahuwah took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And Yahuwah commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. Now here's another one of those things, y'all, where you have to go look at the Hebrew word or what Yahuwah said. The word that they used here in Hebrew gives a definition. What he said to him, it means that you will eventually die. And as we read on, when Eve has this conversation with the serpent, Eve gets it wrong, but the serpent repeats exactly what Yahuwah said. Matter of fact, the serpent said, Yahuwah didn't say you shall surely die, which is not what Yahuwah said. Yahuwah didn't say you shall surely die. What Eve said was to die like you would die immediately upon eating it. And that's why the serpent said, Yahuwah didn't say you shall surely die. Eve got it wrong. She didn't go back and verify what Yahuwah said. Yahuwah said, in English terms, Yahuwah said you will eventually die. Eve said we're going to immediately die. And the serpent said what Yahuwah said. He said Yahuwah didn't say you would immediately die. Pay attention, y'all. I'm telling you, when you actually, oh gosh, this is so much twisting of this. When you start looking at this stuff, it's like, holy crap. What? Like if you read and you understand it from the original text, you get a whole different story. And things that were ambiguous, the ambiguous text that the church pulls out and teach, they come up with a whole nother doctrine that the original text never even said. That's how cults start. That's how people get in trouble. Taking ambiguous text, ambiguous meaning, it could possibly mean anything. So we're going to guide the people we're going to teach them that it means this. But the text was too ambiguous. It wasn't ambiguous in the original text. You just took what they translated from something that was definitive, and you made it ambiguous where the people have to think. And those who aren't good researchers, or those just don't do their due diligence and go back and search stuff, they just going to take that information overload. They're just going to take that and they're just going to just follow the storyline along without going back, verifying what you can just put right there. Right? So everything that Yahuwah said, he's definite about it. He doesn't leave it open to your imagination. Whatever Yahuwah says, he means exactly what he says. And if there was something that needs explanation, he explains it, just like the visions and the dreams that are given to like King Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel. If they didn't understand what it means, Yahuwah gave them understanding, because after their dreams or their visions, there was an interpretation of everything that was in this dream. Yahuwah never leaves anything hanging out there. He always explains what he means. And that's something that I've learned over the last year. I'm like, darn it. He meant everything he said. He did what he said he was going to do. Every time he said he was, there was nothing lingering open. Nothing at all. All right. Okay. So let me go ahead. All right. So, and let's see. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest it thereof, thou shalt surely die. And Yahuwah said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him. And out of the ground Yahuwah formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all the cattle and to the fowl of the air and every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him. And Yahuwah caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahuwah had taken from man, he made woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. Chapter 3, last chapter for the day. Now the serpent, also this word serpent here, in the Hebrew text, it means an adversary, or a Satan, ha-Satan. It simply means an adversary, something that's contrary to the current thing, right? Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah had made. And he said unto the woman, hath Yahuwah said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Now, do we really believe when Yahuwah put it there, did we really think that he knew that they weren't going to eat of it? He had to give them some kind of test. He really did. So that was a test for them. He knew they were going to eat it. He set it all in motion. That's why he brought it out. You can eat of everything except for this one tree right here. It's like and Eve saw that it was pleasant and it was good for food. That's like a parent taking a chocolate candy bar or some donuts or something that's really enticing, and sit it right there in the kitchen. Like, listen, everything in this kitchen you can eat, children, but don't touch these donuts right here. Don't touch these. You eat everything else in here. I mean, but these ready to go. They're sitting right there. Every time you walk into the kitchen, it's like, oh my gosh. If she don't come get these donuts out this kitchen, I don't know how much longer I can last. He knew that they were going to eat of that tree. That's why he set the test in motion. Like, if we keep on reading, we will see that Yahuwah is constantly testing the hearts of his people to see if they were going to be obedient to his commands. All the way through, we see that same thing. All right, y'all. So, last chapter. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath Yahuwah said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Yahuwah has said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither touch it, lest ye die. And the word that Eve said here was immediate death. But Yahuwah said in Hebrew, the words that they use, like I said, Yahuwah said, it's an eventual, you would die eventually. But the word that they had right here that Eve said, it said an immediate death. Remember, Yahuwah spoke to Adam. Adam relayed the message. Eve didn't get it too clear because even the serpent corrected her and used the word that Yahuwah was. He didn't say you shall surely die. He didn't say you're going to die immediately. He said you're going to die eventually. Eve got it wrong. Listen. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Yahuwah hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said to the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for Yahuwah doth know in the day that ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Did the serpent lie? No, because we know what the serpent told her is exactly what happened. How do we know? Because Yahuwah said exactly what the serpent said. The serpent didn't lie to her. Eve got it wrong. Guys, I'm telling you, reading and research is fundamental. Okay, listen. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her. And he did eat. It still blows me away that Adam didn't stop her. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of Yahuwah walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves in the presence of Yahuwah amongst the trees of the garden. And Yahuwah called unto Adam and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden and was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded that thou should not eat? And the man said, The woman you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And Yahuwah said unto the woman, What is this thing that thou hast done? And the woman said, Well, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And Yahuwah said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and the dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. I want you to think about something. Let me finish reading this. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. And unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou wilt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And unto Adam he said, Because thou hast hearkened to the voice of thy wife, and thou hast eaten of the tree which I have commanded thee, saying, Thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns, also thistles, shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. Meaning, you are going to toil to get this land to grow for you. Before, he didn't have to do that. He simply had to till it, because Yahuwah caused everything to grow. He provided everything for them. When they got into disobedience, Yahuwah said, Now, it's going to be hard for y'all. You're going to have pain in childbirth, and you're going to work like a Hebrew slave. He said, I just added that in. He said, you're going to really toil to cause this to grow and produce, because it's not going to do what I cause it to do when you are walking in obedience. And if that right there, we see that happening all the way through. And what's one of the promises when Yahuwah said what happened when he regathers his people to the land? He's going to cause the food to grow. Our land will be, the food of our land will be famous. It will be known to the nations. He's going to restore what was broken back here. And what he said about the children, that he would, although when he regathers us, we would be small, we will multiply. He will multiply our children forever for the multiple generations, and we will grow and be the largest people. If you're not paying attention, you don't even see him correcting what he says. We're taught about something else, eternal life. And that's not what Yahuwah said. What eternal life is. He said, I'm going to return you to your land, and I'm going to reset it just like it was in the very beginning. I will be the one that causes the land to produce goodly food. Matter of fact, not only that, your land will be famous for the food that it grows. You're going to be known all over the world because I'm the one who tends and takes care of your food. That's what he says all the way through. How do we miss that? Okay, let me finish, y'all, because I'm getting excited. I'm just saying, reading is fundamental. Verse 18, thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field, and the sweat of thy face shall thou eat bread, till thou return into the ground. For out of it thou wast taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. And when they return to the dust, it's called sleeping with the fathers. It didn't say you're going to hell or going to whatever, He said you're going to return back to the dust. From dust you were taken, and to the dust shall you return. You're going to go sleep with your fathers, and you're going to go be buried in the dirt, wherever your body is going to decompose, and the earth is going to reassimilate your remains into itself, and it's going to continue on, but your body is going to return to the dirt, baby. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also, unto his wife, did Yahuwah make coats of skin and clothe them. And Yahuwah said, behold, listen to this. And here is where the serpent, he said exactly, the serpent didn't lie, because Yahuwah says right here, he verifies it. Listen. He said, Yahuwah knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes are going to be open. Listen to what Yahuwah says. It's the very same thing. Verse 22. And Yahuwah said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. Did the serpent lie? The serpent did not lie. The serpent told her the truth. And you got to think about it. If the food for the serpent, if he's going to eat dust all the day of his life, I mean, it's guys, that's another whole thing. It looked like the serpent is eating all the days of his life, because the dust is he gonna lick dust all the days of his life, But also, the serpent was an animal, and that is verifiable proof. You can go look up the structure of a serpent, and you will see that they have the skeletal, their body composition. They have legs. They have the whole setup where they can grow legs, but it's not being used. It's in every single one of them. That's verifiable proof that what Yahuwah said is true. I'm just telling you, everything that Yahuwah said can be verified, and we can go check it. And that is a very well-known fact today all across the earth. Go check the structure of a snake. It used to walk upright, but because of the curse, it now slithers and it licks dust all the days of its life. Listen. And verse 22, I read it again, and we'll be done, y'all, in 3 verses. And Yahuwah said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and also take of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. Therefore, Yahuwah sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims. What are cherubims? The cherub, did they just appear? No, they were already there. He placed cherubims, which are messengers or angels. He placed them there to guard the entrance. And So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims and a flaming sword, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. Now, people only get eternal life with the tree of life, because we'll also see, as we read, and it's going to be many days from now when we actually get to that, Yahuwah says, and you can actually go Google this. Yahuwah said there's going to come a day that those who die at 100 years old will be considered wicked. Why? Because when Yahuwah returns us to the land and he gives us access back to the garden, to the tree of life, it's healing for the nations. This is the ultimate stuff. They were living for such a long time. He's going to restore all of that. All of that is going to be restored. He said those that die at 100 years old will be considered wicked. His people will begin to live long again. Matter of fact, he said this last captivity, he said it's going to be a long one. But when they come out of this captivity, they will never turn from me again. They will always obey my laws, my statutes, and my commands. And they are going to live in the land that I promised them without fear of any nation, because I myself will guard my people. He said they will become famous. Their land will become famous because of their foods. All the nations will stream to my land. And I am going to teach people. Y'all, I'm telling you, this is so good. If we just read it, I'm telling you, forget everything that everybody else can torture and read it like you ain't never read or heard nothing about it before, and read it with the intent on understanding it, just the characters and everything, because you will never get some of the interpretations that you get out here in religious factions, what they say. You will never come up with what they teach you. I mean, you will actually have a more healthy understanding if you read this without the interpretation input of anybody. All right, so with that being said, beautiful people, we done. This was Year 2, Day 1. We're starting over reading Genesis 1 and 1. And I'll try not to draw it out. I'm going to try and make it fast. All the things that I've learned, kind of add in here, give you quick resources to check, on your own, just to go verify what I'm telling you. So I'm going to try to keep the videos 15-20 minutes max. I know this video is just a little bit longer than that because I got super excited. So I'm going to hone it in. I'm going to try to be as efficient as possible to give you the information so you can go check. But that being said, people, with that being said, just a quick recap. It is Sunday, November the 24th, 2019, Day 1 of Year 2 of reading through the Old Testament. We read Genesis 1, 2, and 3. All right, y'all. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to bless you just like Yahuwah said to bless you in Numbers chapter 6. He told Aaron to bless his people. He said, when you put this blessing upon my people, I myself will come and bless them. Some people call it the Aaronic blessing or whatever, but it's the blessing that Yahuwah commanded be put upon his people. So may Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and lift his countenance upon us and be gracious unto us. And may he give us his shalom. Shalom is peace in all that concerns us. So may he bless us and keep us in all that concerns us as we keep all that he has commanded us to, that we may live a blessed life. All right, y'all. I love y'all, and I see you in the morning